Ich bin deine Pussycat. Küss mich, kleiner Tiger. Yeah.
Hi, it's me, Claire, and today I'm going to be talking about something else. You know, that musical. I've already talked about it before on my channel, but I decided that today would probably be a better day to talk about it. Now that I'm better at editing and sorting out my thoughts, I think it would be more respectful to give the musical a swan song and final set-off. After all, the musical had a pretty big following, especially on Twitter and YouTube, and I believe it's not really fair to just, leave up the ties untied. Actually, I'm also trying to get this to settle within myself too, considering how much emotional burden I have with this musical. So, to begin, I'll talk about the musical itself.
Yeah.
As you probably could infer from the title alone, OMORI the Musical was a project that was meant to bring OMORI to life in a way. As a musical. Similar to Now the Internet's Undertale the Musical and the like. I assume was probably inspired by that, as the project creator known as Evelyn had spoken about that project before. I had auditioned for every female role in the cast, and I ended up scoring Polly and Miwo. With this, I was extremely excited. I was about 17 or 18 years old at the time, more likely 17. It's been a long time. And I had a lot of fun going into the Twitter group and meeting everybody. I was really excited for the project. I recorded all the stuff that I could. I wanted to contribute in any way I can. I also wrote a lot of lyrics, and I really wanted to bring the project to life. This was when I just joined the OMORI fan base, so I was at my height of creativity and interest in OMORI. This is also when I wrote that OMORI fanfiction, but that's for another video that I already spoken about. The project itself, however, did fall apart, which is what the main topic of this video is going to be, and why it never came to be despite all of the hype, and the only thing we completed was the Christmas series.
Yeah.
The downfall is honestly the biggest part of OMORI the Musical, and what most people remember about it, considering all the bad things that happened with the project. So basically, it all started with somebody who I'll call Cam. Cam was not really an agreeable person. She constantly insulted people, bothered certain people who were in the group, and she caused me to have about 2 meltdowns because of the way that she was treating everybody, reminding me of my abusive ex-girlfriend, who I had very recently gotten away with at the time. I got away from at the time. That changes the whole meaning. Either way, Cam's behavior bothered a lot of us, and it resulted in the first drama that happened in our group, which resulted in them leaving the project, and a lot of us being left very hurt feeling. Now, the second thing that happened was probably the worst. There was a person that I'll call P, and there was a disagreement about OMORI ships. Yes, it was about something as petty as that, but it resulted in a huge breakdown that resulted in them quitting the project, losing one of the most important people, and a lot of people being really hurt by it. That was around the time when I realized that the project probably wasn't going to happen with no progress happening and all the fights happening. Other than that, there were several little fights, a couple of which I have to admit I got into. There were a few people I did not like in the project. There were about 2 or 3, maybe. Yeah, I'm not going to go into detail with them to avoid them getting harassed and to avoid awakening any bad memories in my mind, as I have cut off most people associated with that project for my own mental well-being. But the nail in the coffin was the incident with somebody I will call S. I won't go too much into detail to preserve everybody else's feelings, but S turned out to have cheated on his girlfriend, and who was very prevalent in the project. I'll just say that S voiced Hero, and she was a huge supporter of the project. S later did something even worse, which I will not get into in this video because I do not feel comfortable talking about it. But after this entire incident, S got kicked out of the project, and with that, the voice actress for Kel left because she was uncomfortable with all the drama that was going on, the lack of progress. And with that, it was kind of known the project was not going to happen. The server died except for me and a couple of other people occasionally saying stuff or ranting about stuff that was going on. And while the project was even active, most of the time it was just cliquish. There were certain cliques in the server that went to different servers where they'd hang out in their own groups. I was a part of a much smaller clique with friends I was already familiar with. And when I wanted to talk to people there, I would often be ignored, or with the two people I didn't like would end up in fights with. It was not a pleasant experience, and I do not really look back at this entire situation fondly, especially considering how my relationships with most of the people are now. Don't get me wrong, I'm still friends with some of them, but without everything turned off, with most people associated with the project either being harassed off the internet or just simply turning out to be bad people, it's not something I look back fondly on.
Yeah.
In conclusion, OMORI the musical was very sloppily put together, very badly managed, and was overall not a pleasant experience for most of the people involved. With all the fights happening in server, all of it mostly being used for venting, and the constant kink and fetish talk that was in the server, despite the fact that a lot of the server was made up of minors, with the youngest being 12 years old at the time, it just wasn't a pleasant experience. And while I do have good memories from that server and friends I made along the way, it's just unfortunate that the project was obviously never going to happen. While I do hope for some kind of OMORI musical project in the future, this obviously wasn't the team for it. And honestly, all I can do is hope for better teams in the future. Until next time, see y'all!